Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking a look at the recently released MX 17.1. MX 17.1 was released just a couple of days ago on March 14th, 2018. Looking at some of their release notes, we have some updated packages, of course, in this release. The latest kernel, 4.15.0, is the kernel. Of course, you always have the option of running an LTS kernel, a stable kernel. You have various updated packages for Firefox, VLC, Thunderbird, LibreOffice, etc., etc. Also, we have some new themes, new icons. Looks like the MX Updater now has an auto update option in the preferences. That way you can set it to auto update, do unattended updates for you. The MX Live USB Maker is now more functional. MX Tweaks adds a Config Options tab for resetting LightDM and Thunar custom actions to the new distro defaults. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull down the MX 17.1 ISO. It's about 1.2 gigs in size, and I'm going to install this inside VirtualBox. Alright, so I've downloaded the ISO for MX 17.1. I'm going to go ahead and let VirtualBox capture my keyboard and mouse. I'm going to go ahead and boot directly into the live environment. Of course, this should be the live XFCE desktop environment. MX 17 uses the XFCE desktop environment. It may take a minute for this to boot up. And the live desktop environment has loaded. Of course, we get our MX Welcome here. This is the greeter program here in MX 17. I should mention MX is a Debian-based Linux distribution. It is based on Debian stable. It is a collaborative effort between the Antics community and former MEPIS, the former MEPIS Linux community. MEPIS is no longer with us. And that is basically how MX is created. It's a collaboration between MEPIS and Antics. The M is the first letter in MEPIS. The X, of course, is the last letter in Antics. Hence the name. I'm not going to bother playing around in the live desktop environment. I'm going to go ahead and click on the installer icon here on our desktop. And it pulls up the MX Linux installer. We get this little terms of use. MX Linux is an independent Linux distribution based on Debian stable. MX uses some components of MEPIS Linux which are released under the Apache free license. Some MEPIS components have been modified for MX Linux. Enjoy using MX Linux. Alright, so choose disk for installation. I created a 15 gig hard drive here in this virtual machine, so I'm going to use that drive. Modify partitions, so we need to run some kind of partition tool to create some partitions. So it looks like it's going to launch gparted, so let me create a partition here. So first we need to create a partition table, so you go to Device, Create Partition Table. I'm going to do MS-DOS. I'm going to hit Apply. Alright, that took care of that. Alright, now I'm just going to right click on the unallocated space here. I'm going to click New. Free space. I'm going to just create one big partition. Give it the entire 15 gigs. Create primary partition. File system. I'll use the extended for file system. And I'm going to click Apply All Operations here. Okay, that was done very quickly. And of course the next section here says auto install using entire disk. So I guess instead of running the partition tool, if we wanted to give it MX the entire disk, the entire space on the hard drive, we could have just done automatic partitioning rather than trying to create our own partitions. So that's cool. Or you have the option of custom install on existing partitions. So you have a variety of options here for the partitioning. Is it okay to format and use the entire disk /dev/SDA? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do the automatic partitioning, even though I created a partition myself. I like seeing what these Linux distros do with their automatic partitions. That way I see what kind of scheme they create. Do they create a swap? If they create a swap, how big is it? Do they create a separate home partition? All of that. Alright, now it's asking about the bootloader Do we want to install Grub for MX Linux and Windows? And where to install it? Of course, we want to install it on the master boot record, so I'm going to click Next. OK to install Grub bootloader at SDA. Yes. Please wait till Grub is installed. It might take a couple of minutes. It's probably just going to take a few seconds, actually. Yeah, maybe 30 seconds to install the Grub bootloader. Alright, computer name. MX has already been chosen for us. I'll leave MX as the computer name. Computer domain, example.com has been chosen for us. That's fine. We really don't need to set a domain name. Do we want the Samba server for MS networking? No, I don't really need Samba, so I'll just tick that off. Alright, keyboard. US has been chosen. Locale, English US has been chosen. Those are correct. Configure clock. Format, do I want to use 24-hour format or 12-hour format? I'm good with either one. I'll just leave it. Time zone. The Eastern time zone in America has been chosen for me. I need to change this to the Central time zone. Chicago is always in these lists, so let me choose America/Chicago. That is the Central time zone. And then we have service settings. It says it's advanced. I'm just not even going to play with that. I'm going to assume it's nothing I really need to fool with for now. Default user account. We need to create our username and password. So I created my username, DT, and then I created a very difficult to guess password for user DT. Then we need to create a root password, a system administrator password. So I'm going to create a very difficult to guess password for that. Alright, do we want to encrypt my home folder? No, I won't bother on this VM. Do I want to auto log in? No, I like being asked for a password when I log in. Save live desktop changes? No, I don't need to do that. I'm just not going to tick on any of that. Just going to click Next. Alright, and then we have this reminder screen to support MX Linux, and then we have the Finish button here. Click Finish. Do you want to reboot now? You always have to reboot your machine when you install an operating system. I'm going to click Yes and reboot the machine. Alright, and I have rebooted my freshly installed MX 17.1, codename Horizon. Let's see how long boot up time takes. Still waiting on boot up. Boot up time typically takes 10 to 15 seconds in most Linux distros. That's what it took here in MX 17.1. Alright, let me type in my very long and complicated password. Let me log in. And this is MX 17.1. This is the MX desktop. This is the XFCE desktop. Of course, we have the MX welcome screen here, the welcome greeter. The greeter has links to their user manual, their wiki, tools, tweaks, forums, videos, contribute, popular apps, and then we have the option of show this every time we log in, or we can click this off, or actually it's ticked off by default. We can click it on to always show this when we first log in. I'm going to leave it ticked off though. I don't really need to see this screen again. So first impressions. I really love the new wallpaper and the new Kaki they went with. In a previous version of MX I reviewed, the wallpaper was a nice wallpaper, but the Kaki, the colors in the Kaki did not really gel well with the wallpaper. This actually is a really, really nice wallpaper in Kaki. I'm going to go through the XFCE menu here and see what all is installed by default on MX 17.1. So I'm just going to go through the accessories category. And under accessories we have our application finder, which basically is just another way of browsing for applications if you didn't want to use the menu system. We have our archive manager for zip, unzip, tar, gz, that kind of thing. Bulk rename. That is a bulk rename utility for renaming multiple files on your system. We have the Catfish file search. The Catfish file search is your standard file search utility for the XFCE desktop environment. Also under accessories we have Clipit, which is our Clipboard Manager. Let's see, is the Clipboard Manager already on here? Yeah. So actually I just launched a second instance. You see I have two paper clips here. I need to close one of these. Alright, but Clipit is the clipboard on your panel here. We have Kaki Manager. This manages our Kaki themes. So the current Kaki here on the desktop is this one here that has the check mark, but we could change it. And that actually adds a second one, so I need to tick off the first one. Okay, I'll leave the first one ticked on so we can see how it compares to some of the other ones. That's a pretty neat Kaki. Let me move my head out of the way. Some really cool Kakis. And that's a really nice one there. I would probably go with that one, actually. I would probably rather do that one than the default. You know what? I'm just going to leave that one. I like that. Let's see what else. Because there may be another one that's even better. I don't know. I really like the third one in the list here. Of course, I didn't go through all of them. There are quite a few here. But you know what? I'm just going to stick with that one because it's really nice. I really like this Kaki. It shows us time and date, version number of MX. We have kernel version. We have CPU, RAM, how much swap, uptime, how much disk space, Ethernet, up speed and down speed. And then on the monitor we have process ID and CPU usage here for the top 8 apps or so that are running. Right, also under accessories we have Kaki toggle on and off, so clicking this toggles the Kaki on or off. We have Featherpad, which is a lightweight text editor. Featherpad is a pretty cool little text editor. Mousepad is usually the default text editor in XFCE, but I don't see Mousepad here. I guess they replaced Mousepad with Featherpad. Calculator, of course, is a calculator. We have GTK hash, LightDM, which is our login manager. We have Lucky Backup, which is a backup and sync utility. Uses rsync. Neat little backup and restore program. Also under accessories we have Midnight Commander. That is an interesting choice. Midnight Commander is a file manager. It is a terminal-based file manager. Of course, your standard GUI file manager is going to be Thunar in the XFCE desktop environment. Well, that's nice that they include something like Midnight Commander. You guys know I really like the Ranger file manager, the terminal-based file manager called Ranger. Midnight Commander, very similar. And then we have MX Clocky Desktop Clock. That is an attractive, skinnable desktop clock. Let me launch it. Yeah, that is a pretty neat little clock. I'm going to quit that though. I've got enough going on with the Kaki on the desktop. I don't want to add anything else to it. Alright, we have our MX iDevice Mounter, a GUI for mounting and unmounting iPhones and iPads. That's interesting. I don't own an iPhone or an iPad. But that's nice that they include something like that on their distro. I know there's a ton of you iPhone users out there. MX Updater, of course, this is our update utility. This particular version of MX was released about 2 days ago, and I'm already getting notifications here that we have 20 new updates available. So if I click this, yep, the upgrade tool comes up. Do we want to do a full upgrade? I'm just going to click yes. Of course, we have to enter our root password anytime we install or remove software. Anytime you make changes to your system, you have to enter a root password. And then we get a little terminal so we can actually see some output of what's going on during the upgrade. So that's cool that they give us some system information, you know. I don't like the GUI package managers that when you go to install or remove software, they don't really give you any kind of information about what's going on. Some of them only give you like a progress bar, like, you know, it's 50%, 80% done. I like seeing this where it tells me exactly we're installing this package now, this package now, this package now. It really helps, especially if there's any kind of hiccups or any kind of hang-ups. When you're doing an update, you know exactly what package it was on when the problem occurred. That's why I like doing things in the terminal. Of course, this is a terminal. The GUI package manager, basically all it did was launch a terminal and launch the terminal command to do a full system update. And that's really all GUI package managers are. They're just, running the exact same command you would from a terminal: sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade. All they're doing is they're providing you a nice graphical way of, they put a button here that says upgrade. You click it, but it runs that exact same command that you would have typed in a terminal. No difference. The real difference is a lot of times if you can actually type, doing things in the terminal as far as package management is usually faster than using a GUI tool. Alright, the full upgrade's complete. This terminal window can now be closed. Press any key to close it. So I'm just going to close the window. Also under accessories we have our note-taking utility. What do we get? We get a little icon down here in the sys tray. Little note. And I could start typing something like my to-do list, and I close this. It goes down into a little sys tray here. I can pull it back up later. This is Notes 1.8.1, ideal for your quick notes. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Shut that down. Alright. Also under accessories we have onboard, which is our onboard keyboard. We have global time, we have password and keys, we have a screenshot utility, we have sensor viewer, which shows sensor values. And let's see. I imagine it adds something to our system, our sys tray, but I didn't see anything pop up. But this is a VM. Task Manager. Now, the Task Manager I do want to take a look at. Let me go back to accessories. Task Manager. Alright, CPU and memory usage. Let this settle down for just a second. CPU usage is single digits, anywhere from 2% to 7%. It kind of fluctuates, but I have a lot going on. We have a few things in a sys tray down here. Of course, I have this Kaki, and it's a kind of a substantial Kaki running here on the desktop. But still, running 2%, 3% CPU, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Memory usage, it's using 10% of the, I think I gave this 4 gigs of memory, so about 400 megabytes is what it's using. That's not bad either. So that's pretty good stuff. Pretty standard though for the XFCE desktop environment. Back to the accessories category, of course we have our GUI file manager. This is the Thunar file manager. Earlier we showed you the terminal-based file manager, Midnight Commander. This is our GUI file manager, Thunar 1.6.12. And finishing out the accessories category, we have XFBurn, which is a CD and DVD burning application. It's a standard XFCE application. Under the games category, we have Solitaire, we have Chromium BSU, which is a scrolling space shooter. We have Hearts, L Breakout 2, Mahjong, PEG-E, and Swell Foop. Under the graphics category, we have GIMP. We have Gscan to PDF, which is a GUI to aid the scan to PDF process. LibreOffice Draw, Nomax, which is an image viewer, and SimpleScan, which is a scanning utility. Under Internet, we have our default web browser, which is Firefox. This is Firefox Quantum. This is 59.0, so very fresh package for Firefox here. Again, this is based on Debian stable, but they are using a lot of really fresh packages. Again, they have other repos. They're pulling stuff down from, I think, the Antics repositories too. So, all right, where were we? Graphics, Internet. Under Internet, we have GNOME PPP, which is GNOME's dial-up tool. We have HexChat. HexChat is your IRC chat client. I'm assuming by default it'll probably log us into the Freenode network. Maybe by default it would log us directly into the MX Linux support channel. I'm not sure. No, it's going to log us into the Debian support channel. Okay, that's interesting. Let me quit that. Under Internet, Thunderbird is our email client, and Transmission is our BitTorrent client. Under Multimedia, we have Awesome Mixer. We have Asunder CD Ripper. Now that is an interesting choice. Asunder rips music from CDs. CDs have been a thing of the past for many, many years now. Not too many people use CDs. Pretty much everything's digital now, so I'm not sure you really need to include a CD ripper, at least not by default, on your ISO. Clementine. Clementine is our music player. Clementine is a fantastic audio player. full-featured. Clementine is basically a continuation of what was Amarok before Amarok kind of died for a number of years, but I guess Amarok is now back because they had a new release about a week ago. But Clementine was basically a fork of Amarok, and it's actually a much better audio player than Amarok ever was. GMTP is also here in our multimedia category. GUVC View is here too. GUVC View is a webcam app. See me in this window here? This is GUVC View running on my main machine. Pulse Audio Volume Control is also under multimedia. Also, we have SMTube for browsing and searching videos on YouTube. We have VLC. VLC is going to be our video player, but also can play audio if you choose. Alright, under the MX Tools category, we have our live USB kernel updater. Alright, and of course you have to enter a root password to install the kernel. I'm not going to bother installing a kernel. Matter of fact, I should open up a terminal and see what kernel we're running. Actually, the Kaki should tell me. 4.15.0 is the kernel that is running, so it's a very recent kernel, and I'm good with that. I wouldn't want to go to an older kernel, maybe 4.9 or an LTS kernel. I'm good with running the latest kernel on this. We have MX Boot Repair. That is great that they include a boot repair utility by default. Having a boot repair utility means that you can have a live USB stick of MX Linux, and MX Linux would be great for a system rescue stick. Alright, also under MX Tools we have the MX Codex Installer. This makes installing all those restricted proprietary multimedia codecs a breeze. Let me launch this. Do you assume legal responsibility for downloading these codecs? Okay, basically they want to absolve themselves of what you're about to do, and but yeah, you really have to install third-party multimedia codecs on any machine. You just have to. It's not even really an option. Alright, of course we have MX Kaki, MX Fixed GPG keys. That checks and installs missing apt GPG keys. We have the MX iDevice Mounter, again for mounting iPhones, iPads, iDevices. We have our Live USB Maker, the MX Live USB Maker tool. This makes live USB sticks. Alright, also under MX Tools, we have the MX Menu Editor for editing our menu, probably our XFCE menu here. The MX Package Installer. Okay, this is our GUI package installer. Looks like you can browse by category, so if I click here under Audio, we have the option of installing Audacious, Audacity, Deadbeef, MOC, MPD, Pythos, QMMP, Spotify, and XMMS. So not a lot of packages. Let's see if I can find something that's not listed. How about Rhythmbox? Assuming I spelled that right. I'm pretty sure I spelled that right. No? How about... let me think of another audio player that's not listed here. G Music Browser. So yeah. So this is a pretty cool package installer, but it seems kind of limited on what it shows here. So I'm not sure what they're using for this this catalog of apps here. Oh, you know what? At the top here we have this tab, Full App Catalog. So I guess by default it's just showing you like the most popular things, but if I click this tab, Full App Catalog, please select Repo to load. Stable repo. Yeah, let's do the stable repo. That's going to download the packages. Oh yeah, and now I get like the full Debian stable repo here. And now when I search for something like G Music Browser, I bet it's there. Yeah. And the same with Rhythmbox, if I spell it right. Yep. Alright, so by default the popular ones is just, well, I mean, I should have noticed that when I first launched it. Popular applications. Alright. Yeah. So it's standard GUI package manager. Alright, also under MX Tools we have MX Remaster CC. Is that kind of like Remaster Sys? Is this for, yep. This tool allows you to rework an ISO while running live. I guess it's to create your own custom ISO of MX. That's really neat. They really do include some really unique custom tools here. All these tools under MX tools are really, really nice. We have MX Repo Manager for managing your repository for the apt package manager. We have MX Select Sound, easily select a default sound card. We have MX Snapshot. Of course, this is going to be a backup utility for taking snapshots and restoring. Not going to do any of that on camera though. Alright, then we also have our MX System Sounds for configure event and session sounds. Alright, so this is certain desktop session sounds, whether you want to change them or turn them off. Also under MX Tools, we have the MX Tweak tool. Let's see, your current panel settings have been backed up in a hidden folder called .restore in your home folder. Okay, so this is going to let us basically play around with the panel. And it created a backup of our default config in case we mess anything up. Alright, so you know what? I do want to play with this panel. If I was going to run MX Linux, and someday I might actually install this on physical hardware and try it out, I really don't like this left-hand panel, at least not the way it's set up. I would much prefer this panel to be on the bottom. So hit apply, and now we have the panel at the bottom. It's a little glitchy. Alright. We also had the option of doing on the right hand side of the screen, which doesn't make much sense, but we could do the top as well. I'm going to go back to the bottom. I think I like it on the bottom. Alright, under theme, choose a theme set. MX17 dark. Let's see, preview. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. MX17 light. I would probably go with the light theme since we're using a darker background. It makes a little bit more sense. Nietzsche. I'm not sure what Nietzsche is. Let's see. Okay. Numix themes and icons. I like the Numix icon theme, but you know what? I'm going to go back to MX17 light. I'm going to click apply. Compositor. Right now there is no compositor. I'm going to turn on the compositor though. Hit apply. That gives us some transparencies and desktop effects, some shadowing around the windows. Config options, reset light DM to system default theme, reset Thunar, custom right click actions. I don't want to play around with any of that. We also have options for enabling single click on the desktop, enable single click in Thunar file manager, yada yada yada. Yeah, I'm just going to close out the tweak tool. Back to the XFCE menu, under Office, we have a dictionary, ebook reader, and the entire LibreOffice suite. And we have a calendar, we have global time, PDF shuffler, and QPDF view. Under settings, we have your standard settings for appearance, Bluetooth, desktop, disk, file manager, display firewall, yada yada yada. Gparted is also here. I mentioned that because I mentioned earlier that they had their own bootloader rescue utility. They also have Gparted here. So MX Linux, I'm telling you, if you're looking for a distro for like a system rescue CD, DVD, USB stick, MX Linux would work just fine because it has everything you need for a Partition Manager and for reinstalling Grub. Yeah, just your standard system utilities here. Alright, under System here, mostly the same things. We have our alternatives configurator for configuring the system default alternatives. G alternatives, I guess is the name of that particular program. Also under System, we have the GDebi package installer. GDebi is used for installing .deb packages, .debian packages. Also under System, we have HTOP. HTOP, of course, is a little terminal-based system monitor. And let's see, let's let things settle down for a second. Yeah, CPU usage is still very low, 1 to 2% it looks like. Memory usage, 368 megs. That's pretty low, especially considering I've got a little bit of stuff going on in the sys tray. I have the Kaki here on the desktop, and of course we're running HTOP. So XFCE is a really, really lightweight desktop environment. If you want a full desktop environment that looks good but is still lightweight, very fast, XFCE, you can't go wrong with it. Most of the other stuff in the system settings are stuff we've already seen before. The Synaptic Package Manager we haven't taken a look at, but anybody that is familiar with Debian or Debian-based distros at all, or Ubuntu-based distros, has probably seen the Synaptic Package Manager before. So Synaptic is very easy and intuitive. If you know the package name you're wanting to install, you just start searching for it. So say I want to install something like, you know what? I mentioned it earlier, the Ranger File Manager. I just start searching for Ranger. Here it is. I go ahead and click on it, mark for installation. Now all I need to do is hit apply. And it lists all the packages to be installed. There's only one, Ranger, so no dependencies or anything. Hit apply. You get a little window that tells us what it's doing, configuring Ranger, installing Ranger. That's it. Close. And that is the Synaptic Package Manager. And we just installed the Ranger File Manager here. If I go back to the menu, it's probably going to be under Accessories, maybe. No, I don't see it. Maybe System. I bet it'll be under System. No, let's see if I can just do a search for it. Yeah, it's right here. Run Ranger. And does that launch anything? No, it doesn't. It may not have like a .desktop file for it. But I could always just open a terminal and just type Ranger. And of course this is the Ranger File Manager. Alright, I'm going to right click on the desktop. And let's see, I'm going to do Desktop Settings and Backgrounds. Let's see what kind of wallpapers we have here. That's an interesting wallpaper. Of course we got our MX logo here. Some flowers. I really like that. That's a classy wallpaper right there, and it's a nice dark wallpaper. Would go great with a light theme. Of course, this is the default. Here is a blue wallpaper, something a little more purplish. I think this was the default wallpaper in a previous release of MX. I remember this wallpaper. That's a pretty good wallpaper, but you know what? I think the best one out of the bunch is actually the default one. It kind of goes with this Kaki. Or maybe I'd go with the solid black. Or it's more of a gray, actually. It's not really a black. Yeah, I like that. Let's see. Icons. What kind of icons? Size we want to go with. Does that change icons on the panel, or what does it do? I'm really not sure. You know what? I'm just not even going to mess with it. I'm good with whatever icons we're going on here. It's a pretty nice icon set, actually, this blue icon theme. Yeah, I like it. One thing I want to correct, though, if I'm going to use this black wallpaper, you know, without any of the yellow highlightings from before, I really don't like the Kaki. Now, that's got the yellow and the blue mixed in with it, so I want to turn that off, and I want to find a different Kaki. You know what? I really like this one. It's called LSD2. Yeah. We're getting my my MX Linux desktop squared away here. Ooh, I actually accidentally killed the Kaki somehow. I'm going to go back to the menu system here, and at the top we have some little quick launchers here. One of them is the All Settings. This, of course, is your Settings Manager. We have settings for Appearance, Desktop, File Manager, yada yada yada. This is the same stuff that appears in the Settings subcategory here in the menu. Pretty much all of that stuff there is right here. If you've seen one little control panel in Linux, you've seen them all. So, all in all, what do I think of MX Linux 17.1 Horizon? I love it. I loved the earlier release that I had reviewed. I think I took a look at the beta version of 17 before it was officially released. And I thought it was great then. I really, really like Debian. I don't mind XFCE for a full desktop environment. I don't usually run full desktop environments myself, but I really like XFCE because it meets my requirements. It's light, it's fast, and it's kind of intuitive to use. You know, it's not overly complicated like something like KDE can be. And you know what? It can be made to look attractive. So MX Linux, also their custom tools, the custom MX Linux tools, fantastic. everything in that subcategory. Let me go back to that subcategory, the MX tools. I mean, they have their own live USB maker. They have their own boot repair utility, their own Codex Installer, their own package installer, their own tweak tool. I mean, they are really, really doing some great things. And the MX community is well known for being a very friendly community. I've heard that from pretty much everybody that's ever dealt with like the MX community on forums or in chat, that those guys are really, really helpful. So all in all, what's my grade on MX Linux? Well, I give it an A+. The install was great. Their installer, very intuitive, very easy to use, but it also had some advanced options. For example, the partitioning. It allows you to create your own custom partitions using something like gparted, or you can let it do automatic partitioning. Now, I was actually going to set up my own manual partitioning, and then when I realized it did do automatic partitioning, I went ahead and let it do the automatic partitioning because I wanted to see what kind of partition scheme it did. I forgot to check on that. So let me launch gparted and see what it did with the automatic partitioning. Of course, we have to give a root password here in gparted. Okay, so it does create a swap. It created a 2 gig swap. I gave this virtual machine 4 gigs of memory, so I guess it creates a swap half that size. And then, of course, the rest is all one partition. An extended 4-file system? Yeah, okay. For those of you interested in the automatic partitioning, there you go. So I give the installer an A+, the actual MX Linux XFCE desktop, it gets an A+ too. I love what they're doing with the Kaki theme manager, the wallpapers. Check it out, guys. Peace.